Your barber was on the secret police payroll. Venice, 1539. He shaved your throat in the morning and filed a report on you by sundown. The gondolier who rowed your wife to Vespers, payroll. The priest who heard your confession, payroll. The beggar slumped against the well in your campo who you tossed a coin to last Tuesday, payroll. You think the secret police is a 20th century invention, KGB, Stasi, Gestapo. A black leather coat in a snowy Berlin doorway. You are wrong by 400 years. Every component, the anonymous tip slot in the wall, the paid neighbor who informs on you, the midnight arrest with no trial, the body that vanishes into a lagoon and never surfaces, was engineered whole by Renaissance Venetian merchants who needed a way to keep their trade secrets and their patrician loyalty from leaking. They called it the Council of Ten. They built the architecture, and every surveillance state that followed, Tsarist, Nazi, Soviet, East German, copied the same 4 pieces. So, forget the trench coats for a minute. The man who invented the secret police was wearing a doublet and a velvet cap, and he was your neighbor. We assume modern things have modern origins. We are almost always
Walk through Venice today, and you can still see them. Carved stone faces, mouths open, set flush into the walls of the Doge's Palace, San Moise, Santa Maria Formosa. A slot the size of a letter where the throat should be. The Venetians called them bocche di leone, lion mouths. They were the world's first anonymous tip line, and they were everywhere. You are a Venetian shopkeeper in 1545. You suspect your neighbor of hoarding grain, sleeping with a nun, blaspheming against San Marco, or, most dangerous of all, selling glass-blowing secrets to a Frenchman. You write it on a strip of paper. You walk to the nearest lion mouth. You feed the paper into the stone throat. The mouth swallows it. Within a week, the men your accusation was meant for will receive a visit they will not survive. There is no postmark, no signature, no way for the accused to face you. The system runs on suspicion converted into stone and paper anonymity. And here is the part that should chill you. The Bocche di Leone stayed in operation for more than 250 years. So when did the state start reading the letter?
The answer is from the very first one, in 1310. That year, after a failed patrician coup, the Venetian Senate created an emergency committee of 10 nobles to investigate the conspirators. It was supposed to last 6 weeks. It lasted nearly 500 years. The Council of Ten, Concilio dei Dieci, became the most efficient, most opaque, most feared organ of any Renaissance government in Europe. 10 men, closed doors, lifetime secrecy oaths. They could arrest any Venetian, including their own relatives. They could try them in a room with no witnesses. They could execute them before sunrise. They reported to no one, not even the Doge, and increasingly, the Doge reported to them. By 1539, the council realized it had grown too large for its most dangerous work, so it spawned a smaller, tighter body inside itself. 3 men called the State Inquisitors. 2 wore black, 1 wore red. They are the ones who answered the lion-mouth letters. They are the ones who paid the barbers, and nothing they ever decided was written down in a way the public could ever.
You are a barber in the parish of San Polo. The year is 1560. A man in dark wool clothes comes into your shop one Tuesday, sits in your chair, and asks if you would like to earn a second wage. He does not say from whom. He does not have to. By Friday, you are a confidant. Your job is simple. You shave throats, you cut hair, and you listen. When the silk merchant complains about the salt tax, you remember. When the German visitor mentions the name of a mainland banker, you remember. When the young patrician boasts about his mistress, you remember.
Once a week, you meet a man in a side chapel, and you tell him what you heard. If your information leads to an arrest, you get a bonus. If it leads to an execution, the bonus is larger. The council kept ledgers, real ones, names, payments, dates. They survive today in the Archivio di Stato. Barbers, gondoliers, priests, prostitutes, apothecaries, beggars, an entire parallel city of paid ears layered over the real one. And the man in the chair, under your razor, he was almost certainly being paid to listen to you.
So the lion mouth swallows a letter. The confidante confirms it. The state inquisitors meet. What happens to the accused? Nothing public. That was the rule. Venice could not afford a spectacle because Venice ran on the fiction that its patrician class was united and incorruptible. So the punishment had to be invisible. The summons came at night. Two men in plain clothes knocking at the door of a palazzo. Come with us. No reason given. The accused walked because to resist was to confirm guilt. He was taken across a small enclosed bridge that spanned the canal between the Doge's Palace and the new prison, a bridge later poets would name the Bridge of Sighs. On the far side, in a room with no audience, 3 men in robes asked him questions. If the answers failed, the sentence was carried out before dawn. Standard methods: strangulation between the 2 granite columns in the Piazzetta San Marco, where the lagoon meets the city, or, more commonly, a weighted sack and a quiet rowboat into the Orfano Canal at the lagoon's edge. The body did not come back, and neither did any.
The 2 columns are still standing. Tourists pose between them today without knowing what they are. Walk to the waterfront in Piazza San Marco and you will see them. One topped with a lion, one with St. Theodore stabbing a crocodile. Venetian superstition still says it is bad luck to walk between them, and the superstition has a reason. For nearly 500 years, those columns were where the Republic executed its enemies in the dark, strangled, decapitated, or hanged so the corpse swung facing the lagoon. The lagoon itself was the larger graveyard. The Canale Orfano, Orphan Canal, was the designated execution water. Fishing there was forbidden by council decree on pain of death because the catch would have been embarrassing. We do not know how many people the Council of 10 drowned in that channel across 5 centuries. The records that survive are the boring ones: pay stubs, expense reports for boatmen and torches. The interesting records, the ones with names attached, were burned in stages whenever the council reorganized. Which raises a darker question. How many of the disappeared were ever even guilty? Not everyone vanished. Some were kept. Above the Doge's Palace, just under the lead-sheeted roof, sat a row of cells called the piombi, literally the leads. 7 cells. Wooden walls. No bars on the tiny windows because none were needed. You were 3 stories up, surrounded by Venetian Secret Service with a lead roof above you that turned the cells into ovens in July and freezers in January. Prisoners cooked. Prisoners froze. Prisoners went insane staring at the ceiling beams. The piombi were not for common criminals. Common criminals went to the dank pozzi, the wells, at the canal level, where the water came up over your ankles. The piombi were for the politically inconvenient, the nobleman who said the wrong thing at the wrong dinner, the foreign agent caught with the wrong letter, the priest who wrote the wrong pamphlet. There was no formal sentence. You were simply there until the council decided otherwise, which could mean 3 weeks or 30 years. One man in 1755 decided he would not wait to find out. His name was Giacomo Casanova, and he is the only reason any of us know what the
You know Casanova as the seducer. The Republic of Venice knew him as a problem.
On the morning of 26 July 1755, the state inquisitors had him arrested. The charge, never formally read to him, was a mix of magic, blasphemy, and Freemasonry. He was 28 years old. He was thrown into a piombi cell with a 6-foot ceiling so low he could not stand straight, fleas in the wooden floor, and the single window that let in the sound of the bells of San Marco. No trial, no sentence length, just lead overhead and silence below. For 15 months, Casanova did the thing prisoners are not supposed to do. He thought clearly. He bribed a guard for a cellmate, a renegade monk named Barber. He hid an iron bar inside the spine of a Bible. He used the bar to dig a hole through the wooden ceiling into the dead space above the cells, then through the lead sheeting of the palace roof itself. On the night of 31 October 1756, the eve of All Saints, he and Barber climbed out onto the slick lead, slid down a rope of knotted bedsheets, and walked out the front gate of the Doge's Palace in stolen clothes. By morning, he was in a gondola heading for the mainland. The Council of 10 never caught him again. But here is the part that matters more than the escape itself.
Casanova wrote it all down. In exile, decades later, he published the only first-hand account of the inside of the piombi that exists. And in doing so, he punched the only hole in the council's 5-century wall of silence. Which forces the real question: why did Venice, of all places, build this machine first? Not paranoid Sparta, not imperial Rome. A merchant republic of glassblowers and spice traders. The answer is in the merchandise. Venice's wealth depended on secrets, the formula for cristallo glass on Murano, the trade routes to Constantinople, the bribery ledgers in Cairo, the names of its agents in the Ottoman court. One leak could lose a generation of profit. So the council was not really about treason in the modern sense. It was an industrial counterintelligence agency dressed in Renaissance robes. And the citizens it surveilled were not subversives. They were potential leaks. The patrician who got drunk and bragged about a contract. The artisan who promised a French ambassador a sample. Those people had to disappear quietly so the trade kept flowing. Surveillance, in other words, was invented to protect a supply chain. So look again at the modern image. The black coat, the midnight knock, the neighbor who informed on you for an extra ration card. Then lay it over Venice. The Bocche di Leone became the anonymous denunciation box of the Tsarist Okhrana and the Stasi tip line. The Confidenti became the Gestapo's Blockwart and the KGB Sexot, the 7 barbers, gondoliers, and priests on every street. The state inquisitors became the Troika, the special tribunal, the closed military court. 3 men, no jury, no appeal. The Orfano Canal became the Lubyanka basement and the unmarked van in Buenos Aires. Same 4 pieces, same architecture, 500 years apart. The Council of 10 finally dissolved in 1797 when Napoleon walked into the city and the Doge handed him the keys without a fight. But the design had already escaped. Every regime since that wanted to know what its own people were saying in private, has, knowingly or not, copied a Venetian blueprint. So the next time you read about a surveillance state and picture a 20th century factory of black uniforms, remember the older picture. A stone lion's mouth set into a wall, a barber sharpening his razor, a small boat slipping out into the lagoon at 3 in the morning, and no one writing it down. The most dangerous machines are the ones so old we have forgotten they were ever invented at all.